Thank you, Chad, and welcome everybody. Thank you very, very much for the opportunity to be here today. And I want to start talking about vitamins and trace minerals. But first, I want to say thank you for all the swine nutritionists that helped us in this survey and helped us to put together all this information. I know it's your data, but it was very, very helpful for us to bring this update. And really, the goal of this survey was to update Josh Floor's survey when he did during his PhD industry survey about vitamins and trace minerals as well. But today we're going to just have an overview and try to summarize the main findings of this survey. So quick overview here, we started last November and we finished to collect information last February. We got 37 respondents corresponding to 29 production system nutritionists and also 8 feed companies. And from these 37 people, we got around 4.4 million sows. That corresponds to around 72% of the US inventory. And first, I want to show you the very first result of this survey. There was variation. So we had this information when Josh did his survey. And here I'm bringing vitamin D just as an example to show you guys. If you guys take a look first here in nursery diets, first 3 nursery phases, we have people feeding around 1,000 international units. At the same time, in the same country, we have people feeding close to 5,000 international units. So we have these particularities among systems. We have different health challenges, but we understand that variation has happened in basically all vitamins, all trace minerals, and we have lots of particularities between systems. So this is one of the first results that I want to show up. So moving forward and doing some comparisons to the NRC, here I'm bringing nursery data, and here in the x-axis we have all vitamins, fat-soluble, water-soluble, and trace minerals here in this side. And as you can see here, each dot, each color corresponds one nursery phase. And you see that for the fat-soluble vitamins, we had a lot higher supplementation rate compared to the NRC of 2012. When we see water-soluble, we are a little bit more closer to what the NRC recommends. And here, important, the black line is the NRC, so 1 corresponds to 100% the NRC. We have some bumps here, for example, folic acid and also thiamine. That this is probably something, a residual thing that happens for people that use same premix from sows and also nursery. It's kind of a consequence. And here for trace minerals, we have, of course, copper, really high, and you can't see the first 2 phases for zinc because we are talking about pharmacological levels, and they will be close to 30 times the NRC recommendation. When we move to finish, we are in a different scenario where we are more close to what the NRC recommends. We do see that vitamin D, with more recent data being released in the literature, and also being the cheapest vitamin in the premix, we have close to 8 times the NRC for all 3 finishing phases. And then when we move to trace minerals, we see that copper and manganese are way higher than what the NRC recommends. And here we have some discussions with nutritionists and other people in the industry, and there's really a belief that copper can still have some growth promotion in the finishing. There are some people that believe in that. And also we have manganese for the ones that thinks that can improve some meat quality parameters. Moving forward and showing some results and comparisons still with the NRC for breeding herd, again, we had fat-soluble vitamins a little higher than what the NRC recommends. If you see, for example, here, water-soluble ones getting more stable and more closer to what the NRC recommends. But we need to pay attention to some specific numbers. And here, if you pay attention to what we have in this green dot here for boars, vitamin D, it's not that people are using a lot more vitamin D than compared to the sows. It's only because the NRC has 4 times lower recommendation for boars for vitamin D than for sows. And then when we move here to take a look in trace minerals, they are kind of around 2 to 3 times what the NRC recommends. But then something that we know, we are talking about 2012 NRC version, and what we want to know is how this data compares to Josh Floor's data 6 years ago. And here we put together similar comparison, but now the black line represents the levels that Josh collected in 2016. And we see that we are in a completely different scenario here, seeing that we are, the window, the range is way narrow than what we saw comparing to the NRC. And here we are very, very close to 1, so representing that people are still supplementing at a similar level than 6 years ago. Of course, we have some differences. And here, for example, you can see that thiamine for first weaning phase, first nursery phase, and folic acid as well is way higher than what Josh had. And this is something that is, we saw some particularities and some different mindsets when talking with these 37 nutritionists. And what I want to say is that we have, all nutritionists has its own bias. So there's people that believe in some things and people that don't believe, and this is really important because we don't have an exact explanation for every one of these dots, but we have different people thinking that in their system, in their environment, they can have some advantage using such levels. Trace minerals for nursery, really, really similar compared to Josh. Copper, a little bit lower. Finishing, again, all dots very, very close to 1, so 100% compared to the survey did in 2016. Of course, some biotin here, but these numbers don't pay much attention because we don't have many people supplementing biotin in the finisher diets. Copper, again here, a little below than what Josh found. And for the breeding herd, most of the vitamins and trace minerals are, again, very close to 1, so showing no major differences in these past 6 years. So we also collect the information about alternative sources of either vitamins and trace, even vitamins and trace minerals. And here I want to point out the percentage of usage for vitamin D. It means the 25-hydroxy D3, and the vitamin E being the natural vitamin E. And here pointed out that the focus for these two vitamins are really concentrated in breeding herd diets. So we know that these vitamins have some repro-specific functions, and that's probably why people are using these alternative sources for breeding herd diets. When we jump to trace minerals, we see that for finishing phase, copper is the one that has alternative source being used more compared to the other trace minerals. And selenium is the one that I categorize as the more popular one, more popular use as an alternative source compared to all other trace minerals. And here, in the end, we have zinc being the lowest one to be used as an alternative source in the nursery phase. So, what we do with all this information, all this research, all these dots, all these specs, we try to understand, and of course we don't have answers for all questions that you guys might have, but we want to answer this question, where the high variation and around 4 times in general the NRC supplementation come from. And gather all this information and talking with a lot of people, we understand that, as I said, we have nutritionist biases. We have people that trust in different things, and maybe we have some things that applies to one system and not to other system. So we have the examples of different levels of copper among systems. Folic acid showing like one of the water-soluble vitamins that is being used in way higher levels for one system and way lower levels for another system. But also, I think that the most important thing of this slide is this. When we do comparisons to the NRC, we should understand that 2012 NRC has a well higher feed intake estimate for the nursery. So if you remind Maddie's data, different genetics, different timing will show different feed intakes for these kind of pigs. For example, if we think that we are supplementing 4 times the NRC, and then also, and when we compare the amount of vitamin 8 per day, so grams per day or ppms per day, we are not that far from the NRC because the pigs from nowadays are eating less than what the NRC estimates for feed intake in 2012. And also we see an increase of alternative sources. And we understand that people are looking for more stability things, so improving stability of vitamins in the premix, but also taking a deeper look in health and trying to understand modes of action to improve health quality of the pigs. And also some new products coming up in the industry with a higher quality product. As I said, we have some people using the same premix for nursery and sows diets, and these can benefit in a logistics standpoint, but sometimes it decreases a little bit the flexibility of your premix pack. But to end this discussion, something that all of you guys know is that how much vitamins and trace minerals represent in the diet cost. So this will guide us like our focus. The thing is, if I'm talking about a nutrient or a product that represents less than 1.5% of the cost of the diet, I won't pay much attention or the same attention that I pay for energy, lysine. In other words, I won't do a titration. I won't titrate all vitamins because it's not my focus. It's not the nutritionist's focus in a daily basis. So most of the things most of the results shows that people are using in a margin of safety mindset to formulate diets when talking about vitamins and trace mineral. Because of that, we are even for using more, we are way far from the toxicity levels, and then we are just adding more to prevent having some deficiency. So there's not much money involved in a diet cost standpoint. So also, if you guys are aware, we have some 2 other vitamins and trace mineral survey in the literature. There's one done in Brazil and also one in China. And here I put some podiums. This is not the soccer World Cup podiums, but it could be because Brazil is in the first place. But the thing here is that it's really, really important that first place here doesn't necessarily mean better. It's just higher level. It doesn't mean that the first place here is better. This is not soccer. So we had for fat-soluble vitamins, Brazil in the first place for nursery, grow, finishing, and breeding herd diets, and this is mostly due to a higher vitamin A usage. For the water-soluble ones, we have Brazil in first place for nursery and grow finishing due to choline usage, and then US stays in the first place also because of choline for breeding herd. We are using a lot more choline than the other countries. And I marked here US in the third place for grow finishing and nursery because if you compare the data of these 3 surveys, we don't have all water-soluble vitamins being supplemented here in the US, and Brazil and China do. For trace minerals, US is in the first place using more trace minerals, and this is really because of zinc and zinc oxide here in the nursery. And then China takes the first position here due to the iron usage. And to wrap up my presentation here, I'm bringing Hilario's data. Hilario did a trial supplementing 2 levels of the KSU vitamin premix, and we have here in this light color KSU level, and then here in this purple twice the KSU premix supplementation. And we do see that here is finishing pigs, average daily gain in this side, feed efficiency here, and we don't see any difference in performance adding twice. So we are talking adding a lot more vitamins than what we recommend, and we don't see anything in performance. And to conclude all this information, I really think that when we think about vitamins, what is the next step? What is the next step for research on vitamins and trace mineral? And I don't think that we should titrate all the vitamins or titrate all trace minerals. I think that we should bring more this health thing together, understand like different health status in each one of the systems, try to understand a little bit better modes of action as well. And as we dig into this information, we saw there are many interactions between vitamins and trace minerals. So we need to understand these more, then move forward to research and improve our knowledge around vitamins and trace minerals.